Good morning, noon, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Muslim Street. My name is Art Mobley, and Malik Aziz is on the other screen there. And this program is being produced from Accra, Ghana, all the way from Accra, Ghana. Of course, Lance Curve is there, and he's engineering everything, making sure that everything is righteous for you. And we are so glad you joined us today because we have a really interesting program for you this morning. And we're going to talk about what is going on in Iran. And they're handing out butt whoopings. They opened up a can of whoop ass and they launched it against the Israeli-U.S. military combo attacking Iran. They were defending themselves. They considered it an existential threat to Iran for the U.S. and Israel to attack them, which they did. And we have to stop letting them blur the lines so much and say, oh, well, Iran did this and they've been attacking us for 47 years. We know that hasn't happened. Come on, search your heart, search your mind. When has anybody reported that Iran has attacked U.S. in the last 47 years? So we'll get into that a little bit later. Malik Aziz is with us. He's one of the leading Black Muslim authorities on what is going on in not only our community, but through the Pan-African world. And he has been a figure both in the Islamic community, the Nation of Islam. He's been a leadership figure for a long time. I spent some time in the development of the Million Man Marches and the Million Family Marches. And Malik was one of those people who was heavily behind the scenes and being involved. He's been a lieutenant and a captain and someone who was not only a supporter of Malcolm, but then also Minister Louis Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad and man, I'm telling you, Malik, share something, man. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, And to tell you what I'm doing now has to come off the foundation of where I got started as a teenager. It has always been a formulation of super consciousness in the Black radical tradition that formed me. On the college campus that I was at Northeast Illinois University, I left a football scholarship at Eureka College, alma mater of the racist Ronald Reagan, where I started at quarterback there. And I would essentially say, Art, that it begins with this formulation of that Black radical tradition, where any other groups that came after that, be it the National Black United Front, under leadership of Dr. Conrad Worrell, Nation of Islam under Minister Farrakhan, my Sunni Muslim experience after making the Hajj to Mecca in 2005 has always been a conglomerate of Black radical tradition. So there's a lot that fed into who I am, and I think on a strong point. And on that point, I just like to mention that today we celebrate the anniversary of the birthday of a great true revolutionary, and that's Che Guevara, who was one of the architects of the Cuban Revolution. Yep. And with Fidel Castro, a revolution that this current administration under Donald Trump and Marco Rubio is attempting to first choke and then overthrow.
And strangle. We're going to get into Cuba here in a bit, too, because we got some information from Havana to share with our audience. Yeah.
I just want to recognize and the celebration of the anniversary of the birth of Che Guevara, June 14th. And essentially, Che Guevara assassinated by the CIA in the mid-1960s in Bolivia. In the fall of 1967. So, that's what kind of makes Malik Aziz, just the flooding in of the Black radical tradition and its allies. And that
I'm glad you use that word freely, radical, because a lot of people are afraid and intimidated when they hear that word. They don't understand that the predicament that African people have been in, Pan-African people have been in this country for the last 300 or 400 years. We better be radical. I mean, that's what time it is. Thank you for being radical. Thank you for helping us understand that revolutionary radicalism, militantism, whatever you want to call it, those are all buzzwords that are applied to what we do to try to insinuate that, well, maybe there's something dangerous about you. Well, if I'm not dangerous to you, that would say that you're not dangerous to me. And we definitely know who has been
Malcolm,
dangerous to us.
Malcolm put it best to this question. They were asked him in the early part of the 1960s, why are you so extreme? Malcolm answered back, and I'll paraphrase him, that we're in an extreme oppressive situation.
Absolutely.
The response has to be extreme, and there's just no question about it. If we think that we're going to use a framework of white supremacy to free ourselves, i.e., vote for me and I'll set you free, it's not
delusion. That's delusion. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, thank you, brother, for your activity. Thank you for what you've been able to give over the years, and it is very appreciated. As my brother's calling in from New Orleans, let me cut that off, and we'll keep right on rolling. But you're listening to the Muslim Street, and we're coming from a place and a space of Pan-Africanism, and we want you to invite your friends to not only like and share what we're doing, but subscribe to what we're doing. And I also want to announce that we're also on the Afrique Media Network, and that broadcasts throughout Africa. So right now, it doesn't appear that we have the audience that we actually do have, because we're broadcast in a secondary way onto the Afrique Media, and that represents millions of subscribers throughout the African continent. And but of course, it's available around the world, and all we have to do is tap in and plug into wherever we can be. But the secret is to go ahead and subscribe and like what you hear here, and that will affect the analytics so that we're heard more widely. And, we can get there from here. So we're going to talk about, like I said, Iran has whooped ass. They have whipped the U.S.'s behind, and in the process has destroyed Israel. They destroyed Israel so bad, they don't even want to show any pictures from Israel. We can't show the damage, and, we don't want to show how insignificant their attacks are being, because we're interdicting with our Iron Dome, and we're stopping everything that's coming in, but we don't want to show. We don't want to show what's not happening on the ground here. The damage that is not occurring is not occurring.
Yeah.
But
Imad Al-Turk, who is one of the founding members of the co-founder of the International Museum of Muslim Cultures, who's been on the Muslim Street, reported way back in February, much to my shock, because I hadn't even considered this idea. But he literally said that after this is over, the genocide in Gaza, there will be no Israel.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely, because you can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want. It is some whoop ass that's been opened, and it came from Iran. It was going to come from somewhere, and
one of the things I'd like you to address on what Imad Turk said back in February on the Muslim Street, that there will be, after this is over, this genocide, there will be no Israel. He didn't perceive the military butt whooping that Israel and the American proxies all around the Middle East, Bahrain, Qatar, the Emiratis are taking. Right. What he was talking about initially was that the cover that allows Israel to exist and the funding that they get from the West, and particularly the United States, is that they play this victim mentality. Oh, look what Hitler did to us. Go see the Holocaust museums that we put up all around the world. Oh, nobody wants us. The poor broken white Jew, that whole narrative is destroyed. The entire world hates them. The entire world hates Israel. The entire world, and when I say the entire world, that includes white people and white nations. They hate Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah. So that's what he meant when he said the cover of Israel and what allowed them to exist and prosper is now removed, and they're done.
Not to be confused with my Hebrew brothers and sisters who march on the street of every city in America, who have a feeling about who they are and what their heritage is. This is about those people you just named. You named them very well. From Netanyahu down, we're talking about the Zionists. We're talking about the people who would not give a damn about any person in Gaza under that rubble, and just continue to pound and pound, call them all kinds of names, from just terrorists to Amalek to whatever else you could think of, to denigrate those people and actually try and justify the slaughter and the genocide going on.
Yeah, on this point, Art, where's the anti-war movement, even amongst the quote-unquote white left in this country? Where is the outrage?
Well, it's in Albania. It's in Ireland. It's in other places around the world. You know,
I want to get to something. Where's the outrage coming from? The Black liberal element in this country, i.e., the Democratic Party, and your voted congressmen and senators. I can name some names like Cory Booker, all the way down to Jasmine Crockett. We don't hear any noise coming out when this whole thing even got started with the atrocious joint attack that killed over 150 little schoolgirls in Iran. And I say that to say just a few days ago, I think it was Thursday or Friday, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who was on Exit, came out and lavished the House Republicans on their support of a hearing that's going to take place on the Southern Poverty Law Center, and their fraudulent behavior of propping up white supremacist groups. She came out on the side of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and she blistered the Republicans. You know, they called them racist and all that. Started supporting the Southern Poverty Law Center and what they were doing for all this kind of stuff. Now, what the audience, I say all that, Art, and I'd like you to reply to that, and why they should know that that's fake outrage coming from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The Southern Poverty Law Center at the Muslim Street, along with Malik Zulu Shabazz, way back in 2011 and 12, exposed the Southern Poverty Law Center as a Zionist front. So literally, her support of the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, vis-a-vis the attack on the Republicans for even bringing a hearing to expose them, is a ruse. This is the games they play with ignorant Black people. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, of course, we're going to have those people who consider themselves on the fence and in the middle, and they try to play both ends and both sides against the middle, so that they always appear to be on the right side of whatever. And I understand the philosophy of those people who want to play that game, but we don't have time to play that game as being the people who understand militancy. We understand being radicals. We understand being it being necessary for us to be as powerful and as assertive as we can be because of what we're dealing with. So Jasmine doesn't understand that. She's trying to essentially get votes. She's trying to get support. Her and Jeffries and the rest of the Black caucus and those people that you are alluding to. But worse than that, they're also trying to get money. They're trying to get dollars from organizations like AIPAC. And they know that if they say anything that runs afoul of what that message is, they're not going to get those checks that are going to keep them lavishly conditioned to build towards being millionaires in their House of Representatives or their congressional seats. And we do have to understand that every congressperson is a millionaire as a result of those donations from groups like APAC, which is a fully Zionist organization that funds, buys, bribes American Congress to do what they want done, do their bidding, and vote for the things that they want. But there's going to be some serious split. And as you said, you're calling for where are the people who are going to be responsible? Where are the people who are going to come back to the surface and voice these things? I think that we're about to see a lot of that kind of posturing. It's not going to be meaningful, but we're going to see more of them because they're just going to be waiting for another opportunity to do the same things, get back into the same cycle. So the left that you're talking about is absent. It's AWOL because it never really was there. We have to reinvent the progressive movement in this country, as well as the rest of Europe and even on the African continent, and even within the Muslim Street and what's going on in Islam too. And you're listening to the Muslim Street. We welcome you. We want you to be proactive with us. You're free to call the show. We actually have call-in lines. We've got your ability for you to text your questions to us so that we can address those as well. And we want you to feel free to do that. We'll get Lance Gerv to share that information with us in just a moment. So go ahead, Malik.
Yeah, some of the things that you talked about there, Cori Bush, who was unseated in Missouri as a congresswoman previously by Zionist money, and it came in to the tune of millions of dollars behind an Uncle Tom by the name of Wesley Bell.
Yes.
Then this congressman a few weeks ago, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who flies into Missouri in support of Wesley Bell, made a speech and a statement in a private fundraiser that was recorded unbeknownst to her, and then comes out and lies and says she didn't do that. I mean, this is the kind of silliness that Black people buy because we like these flowery words. Anybody who is good looking, as Jasmine Crockett is, and who can speak, firmly against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is simply the latest head of the white power movement in America that has existed now, coming up July 4th for the last 250 years. Sure. Sometimes pick one that kind of looks like pecan tan. He might look like Barack Obama. Still the head of the white power movement. We got receipts after receipts on that, and don't have us go there because we'll do a whole show on that, right?
Hey, blackface is real. Blackface is still real.
Black faces in hot places. So if they are even something as the one of the biggest tools to bring down on the external front movement to bring down apartheid South Africa was the BDS movement, the anti-BDS movement, divestment, right? Mm-hmm. In the United States, there's over 38 states that have anti-BDS laws. That means that if they find you or your organization, your company, public institutions can't do it, meaning educational institutions and et cetera cannot have an anti-BDS policy toward the state of Israel because it is illegal. Even if you can take the Black bourgeoisie that's in Congress, they could oppose that. They don't even do that. So when you hear people like Jasmine Crockett and Cory Booker yapping about Donald Trump, they're on the same team.
Right. Parties, Democrat, Republican, same party, two wings of the same bird. That's how they fly. And we can't really expect anything more from them. We can expect it, but we certainly aren't going to get it. We don't have a democracy in this country. If we did, it'd be open to all parties, and the Green or the Independents or Black Panther Party or any other party would have the ability equally to get to the people, get to the ballot box, and get to the system and be able to participate. That is democracy. I was in South Africa when 21 parties were on the ballot at the same time. That's a better show of democracy, but that's again, that's a whole nother subject and matter. But understand, we do not have a democratic system in this country. I'm sorry to say that, and I know that we all work hard for the Democrats, and but this is what it gets you. And let's step back over to what's called the Middle East, what we call Northeast Africa, into Iran, and just reflect on what's happening now. Iran issued a MOU to the U.S. and essentially outlined those things that it wanted, its demands essentially, and it's been postured for almost from day one when they first started talking about coming to some peaceful conclusion of this skirmish that's going on in that area. Iran said, well, this is what we want. Now that you open this can of worms and we open this can of whoop ass, and we are about devastating all of your bases. We're talking about to the U.S., talking to the U.S., your bases, including your bases in Israel. We're going to devastate those bases because we are not going to let you again, ever again, come into our country, fly over our country in what you call a decapitation strike and just wantonly murder people because you feel like it one day. We're not going to allow that to happen. You cannot continue to be in that position. We're going to take those weapons out of your hands. So we're going to kill all your radars. We're going to kill all of your anti-missile systems. We're going to kill everything. We don't care if it's in Bahrain or it's in Kuwait or it's in Qatar or it's in Saudi Arabia. We're going to wipe it out. And that's what they've done. And that is why Donald Trump is running around lying from one end of the day to the other end, trying to manipulate markets and patch up and fix things. But he can't do it because there is no way to explain your way out of this. We have a neocon system that's still behind the scenes. It is both Democrat, it is Republican, it is U.S., it is Israel, all one organization. So they're going to constantly be trying to fool you. Oh, well, Israel feels this way and Netanyahu feels this way. Netanyahu is still, he's as much an American iconic system and structure as anything else in this country. He does not make a move that Donald Trump and these neocons don't know about. They are the same people. Don't let them lie to you and say, oh, well, Israel's not going to go along. Bullshit. Israel is getting every dollar, every dime, every bullet, every rocket they've ever gotten. They've gotten it from the U.S. Now, how do you think that, how in your mind can you see a detachment? Can you see a separation between those two states? Israel is America. Israel does exactly what America tells it to do. And don't you believe the hype?
What do you think where do you think they flee next? We talked about the destruction of Israel, and it is happening, right? Is it South America that they go to next, or and I'll say this, Art, before you answer that. I want to say this to the audience, and I want you to repeat this to any of these MAGA or these American-made flag-waving Black people. If they don't think that the United States got whooped in the Middle East vis-a-vis Iran, I want you to repeat something to them and ask them a question. What happened to the Fifth Fleet, which is headquartered in Bahrain? Iran destroyed it. The American Fifth Fleet, they have 7, is gone. The American Fifth Fleet is destroyed. Your Fifth Fleet is gone. You have no Fifth Fleet. It's gone, literally.
Is it now the 6th Fleet or the 4th Fleet?
I'm sorry?
I said, is it now the fifth fleet or the fourth fleet? I mean, some like if you got five removed, you got to kind of fill in the void, But brother, I think that we don't want to get caught up in the propaganda machine either. There is such a dearth of information that is available to us, as I mean, even the people in this country. We don't have the availability of that information to confirm those kinds of facts, to even vet, to find any source that could give us definitive information. But I understand what you're saying.
No. The Fifth Fleet was housed in Bahrain. Iran destroyed that.
Absolutely.
Well, neutralized. It's over. That's not propaganda.
Yeah. No. I got you. I'm sorry. I wasn't calling that propaganda. What I was saying was, generally we don't have access to the information that we need. That's why it's difficult for people to believe you and believe me when we say these bases are gone. I don't care whether it's Bahrain, Qatar, or the U.S. military was fleeing to the hotels in Dubai and in Kuwait. And that's why you were watching the drone attacks in those high floors on those hotels. And the Iranians knew what rooms the U.S. military brass was in and were attempting to attack and address them with a bomb in those hotels. So again, nobody's going to give us blow by blow information on that, but suffice it to say that those, and I know Scurv has a map, that map of what has been erased in terms of bases in that area. But I hope he puts that up at some point. And again, we need some kind of a number, certainly for people. How would people contact the show if they wanted to do this, Malik?
They should go into the comment section and on the YouTube account and on that platform, and then put in their questions. We'll see those questions, and our crack team behind the scenes, Lance Scurv, will put them up on the screen, and we'll address each and every one of them.
All the way from Ghana.
all the way from Ghana. And, Ghana, that's right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're saying something.
Yeah, I was saying, I was getting ready to go over this MOU that is a list of demands that Iran has made, and Donald Trump has signed off on this initially and is saying, hey, I got to agree, because we can't take much more of the retaliatory strikes that are coming from Iran because they're so devastating. And we told you this. We told you this months ago, that this was going to happen if the U.S. attacked Iran and began to open up this front and with Israel, through Israel, to attack Iran. We told you that. We told you that right here on the Muslim Street, that this was going to happen and this was going to be the result. You asked a moment ago where they have to go, where they're about to go. And I think what they're going to try to do, and this is why this is so important to discuss on the Muslim Street in the context of Pan-Africanism, in context with our African audience. They are trying to come to Africa. They are trying to relocate to Uganda and to Kenya. They're going to.
They want it, and during the rank, they want it, meaning the Zionists, wanted Uganda prior to them taking Palestine. So this is a very legitimate point that Art mentions.
Yeah, absolutely. They were there with Idi Amin, and they were in the background giving him some fits and stuff. But he was actually an Israeli trained super soldier. I don't want to take that out of the mix. But some of us.
Yeah, and then he changed, and he turned against him. You kicked him out.
Yeah, right. But the fear that revolutionary radical brothers have to be concerned with is We don't need to be second guessing what side people are on. Either you are clearly a revolutionary, or you are a somebody that's on the fence, and you don't want to be caught on the fence. Fence is hurt.
Well, that's where smart people like you come in, Art, in order to inform the people when we do have these changes. It happened with on the other side of that, Jomo Kenyatta. In the 1960s, started out as a clear revolutionary and became a neo-colonial. So it's up to us to kind of disseminate that information and be truthful about it, especially as respects to history. It will help the people understand from their perspective, where we need to stand.
Yeah, it's hard to go from being a super trained Israeli soldier and a British trained soldier for 28 years. He trained in England and
he did. He made the change at the end. He did.
He
became their worst nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. He became a nightmare to them, but he was never someone that the rest of Africa could clearly identify. Well, whose side is he on? Is he here or is he there? Is he really changed? Is he, and you can't have that kind of discrepant ideal surrounding your persona and then expect to be taken seriously by
a little bit about Idi Amin. He turns into a big anti-Zionist, takes exile into Saudi Arabia, him being a Muslim, and that's where he died at. Another point to make about Idi Amin, his son is one of the leading anti-Zionist voices on the African continent today.
Yeah, and I listen to him, and I also get those messages. But I wanted to run through some of these demands that the Iranians are making. They're saying they want permanent and immediate end to the war on all fronts, including Lebanon. The only thing they need.
So this is what I was going to ask you about. Donald Trump has been looking for months on a way, at least the last 2 months, going back to April. How do they get out of this, right?
Yeah.
And every time he tries to exit, Israel pulls him back in with stuff like bombing Lebanon in order to increase the momentum around their greater Israel project. Now, do you think, and the question I have to you, Art, on this point, as Donald Trump again revisited now the last 24, 48 hours of trying to get out of this, do you think Israel would comply to that Lebanon thing?
Well, again, that we get back to that deception that they're trying to create, that Israel is somehow like this mad dog on a leash and, is running around the legs of Donald Trump and, what's going on in the U.S. And every now and then he'll snap out and bite somebody that walks by. That's bullshit. Israel is a trained dog. It is a trained dog that sits there until somebody says sick 'em. So don't get caught up in the veneer that Israel operates autonomously or separately. They know in Washington exactly what Netanyahu is going to do before he ever even thinks of it. He is part of a system. He is not autonomous. He doesn't act alone. And, as long as, Iran doesn't see them as two separate groups. It sees them as being one group that will attack wherever the hell they want. And it is therefore important to, if you're going to drop a bomb in Tel Aviv, if you're going to drop a bomb in Kuwait, if you're going to drop a bomb in Dubai, you might as well drop one in New York or Washington, because it's the same thing. Don't be blurred and fooled by positioning geographically. The only reason Iran hadn't shot a missile at Washington is because they won't reach that far. That's the only reason. So don't think that people see you or don't see you hiding behind the wall, throwing rocks and then ducking down and playing like, oh, they came from over there in Israel. It's not a game. This people aren't fooled by this. And that's why they say, including Lebanon, I wish they would pencil in behind that permanent, immediate end to war on all fronts, including Lebanon, also pencil in Cuba, you know. Start being real about this stuff, you know, and start understanding that we are a Pan-African force geographically around the world. We need to be united, whether it's Burkina Faso or it's Mali or it's Cuba or it's Venezuela for that matter. We need to understand that we are all trying to seek the same thing. We want liberation from the same damn monster, you know, and we're not going to be fooled by, you know, where their shots come from, you know.
As
So,
you mentioned Cuba, and again on the anniversary of the birth of true revolutionary Che Guevara, one of the architects of the Cuban Revolution, murdered and assassinated by the CIA in Bolivia. And I want the audience to understand this. It was Che Guevara who not only sent but went along with blood and guts and guns to the frontline states in the 1960s, Mozambique, Angola, and Zimbabwe, fight back the forces of white supremacy during the anti-colonial period. He literally was on the ground in the bush, aiming the gun at Whitey. All right, so a true partner in the liberation struggle. So to the audience, and you hear Black people say this all the time, oh, that's not our fight when it comes to other places, you know, like what fights you got? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's your fight because we're fighting the same man.
Go to Cuba or get an independent camera view.
You went to Cuba art. You went to Cuba art. How dark is it? How Black is it? How African is it?
Cuba is very African. It is over 70% Black. 70% Black. You're talking about something as Black darn near as Haiti. See, all the Anglo Cubans left and went to Miami. Right. They're all up there in your neighborhood, you know. They left because they were part of a class.
Aristocratic class.
Yeah. They were the casino class. They were the pimp class. Cuba was being run as a brothel in 1962. It was one big giant island brothel. So much so that we saw it caricatured in all the TV shows and the gangster shows and Capone, and everybody was going down to, and business people were taking junkets from the U.S. and they disappear and go down to Cuba and, sow they wild oats, so to speak, and then come back to the States.
And then make a distinguish between the first wave of Anglo-Cubans who leave because of the Cuban Revolution in 1959 and Castro taking over, and the second wave in 1980 when Castro emptied the jails of these anti-revolutionary forces that were aiding and abetting the West, particularly the United States, in assassinating Castro 12 times. They attempted this, and they ended up in Miami. And guess what? They were the creators of the whole cocaine drug culture that built Miami. Miami literally stands on that right today. All those tall buildings and all that nice South Beach, all that came from
cartel, drug money. We live in a kleptocracy, not a democracy. It is definitely something that, you need to understand where you are. Capitalism works whether you dealing gold or you're dealing drugs, for that matter.
And define for the audience that term kleptocracy, because what happened is, people will start repeating to try to sound smart, when they go to the health club or to work tomorrow, and then they don't even know what it means. But go ahead and define that in the historical context of white domination.
Well, kleptocracy is as in kleptomaniac, is in a klepto. A klepto is somebody who will steal from anybody, steal anywhere, anytime, and they just do it just impulsively. This is what America has become. It steals from taxes to stuff you buy and jacked up. Right now, the only people making money are the oil companies, and they're doing it by jacking up the prices. They're so concerned about, what's going on in America and what's going on with Americans that they trying to make sure that you pay the extra funding for this illegal action that they're doing. And they do that by increasing your gas prices. That's an act of a kleptocracy. That is what is meant by the term. So I wanted to just jump here to U.S. commitment to non-interference in Iran's internal affairs and respect for the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's demand number 2. Number 3 is the complete lifting of the naval blockade within 30 days. Now, you're going to see these things happen because the U.S. is already quietly, because they're so embarrassed by the ass whooping that they're taking, that they have to go ahead and comply and do what Iran wants in order to get Iran to stop what is going on that is completely demoralizing and debilitating the U.S. military in the area. Every base in the Middle East has been hit by Iran multiple times. And the U.S. has lost billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment, listening posts, devices, weather manipulation radar, all kinds of infrastructure that they built. And they're terrified that this is going to be completely erased before they get a chance to get back in and try to piece things back together in all of these countries like Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait. And they want to desperately get back in and try to salvage much of that as they can. But Iran isn't letting them do it and is not going to let them do it. And I can't blame them, because you kill the Ayatollah, you kill the family of the current Ayatollah, who was the son, you kill his wife, you kill his child, you kill his mother, and then you expect that these people, you go in that 150 young girls that were killed in that first strike when they hit the school. Those were military family. That was a school set up for the daughters, essentially, of those top military brass. You went in and killed those people, and you knew exactly who you were hitting. It was not an accident. They play these games. So you want to flick the most hazardous and dangerous, despicable kind of a punishment or attacks, and then you want people to turn around and sit down at a table and negotiate with you. Are you crazy? You must be crazy.
All right, let me ask you, let's bring this kind of home domestically with this war in Iran. Year to date, month over month, and look at the month over month rolling averages, you'll see the price of oil only about $20 a barrel off its year-to-date lows, right around mid-50s, right now around mid-70s, right?
Yeah.
Year-to-date highs, because of the Iran war, caused a spike, went all the way up to $120 a barrel. We're looking at mid-70s to $120 a barrel, astronomical. And what hasn't changed is the price of gas when it was at $120 a barrel, and when it's right now at about mid-70s. Still well over $6 in some places around the country, and particularly in California, where they do a lot of driving. $6.20 a gallon for gas. Why hasn't the gas came down?
We talk about manipulation. We talk about kleptocracy. These people are masters of playing games and essentially ripping us off right before our eyes. So, you just mentioned, you touched on something. If 20%, they've been telling us from the beginning, 20% of the world's fuel supply comes out of the Persian Gulf. 20%. I mean, it's another 4/5 of the total is getting is being procured from somewhere else. Plus you took Venezuela oil. You took
And,
the oil
and
from
Donald Trump
Libya.
announced 3 days ago that while the mics were hot, that he was stealing oil out of the Strait of Hormuz from the Iranians. He literally said, "I'm stealing it."
Yeah.
And they don't even know it.
Kleptomaniacs. You live in a kleptocracy. Wake up, people. That's what you look the word up if you want to. Oligarchic kleptocracy. They having fun with themselves. They not having fun with us because we ain't buying it. We understand what you're doing, and we know that. Yeah, the U.S. is the #1 oil producer in the world, and so that's why Donald Trump sits back and says, "Oh, well, we're self-sufficient. We don't have to worry. We produce oil out of shale, and we frack, and we do all kinds of stuff, and we can squeeze oil out of a turnip."
And they're the number one drinkers of oil in the world too. So America's coming up on 250 years of its independence from the British. A large part of that period, it decimated First Nations, be they the Cherokee, the Choctaw, Sioux Indians. They also held in captivity, human captivity, our ancestors, Black people, for over 310 years. So you remember, and here's a question. I want you to reflect on art in 1976 during its America's bicentennial, 200 years, where they're coming off the Vietnam War. Kind of take the people back to where we were. The flood of propaganda coming in over the TV. 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue. Da, 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 da. I mean, it was thick, right? The bicentennial, and now here we are 50 years later. What is your reflection on America, its independence from the British, and where these two classes of people, the First Nations, totally decimated, genocided when Columbus got here, and on the eve of the 16th century, there were 200 million quote unquote Indians in North America. Now there's only 2 million, and everybody knows the true history of slavery. What are your thoughts?
Well, they boast that 175 million savages were exterminated during that long period in this country, in America, just exterminated so that they could make room. Kind of like the model for Gaza, sort of, 200 years before. If 101 in taking over countries, the 101 principle, or what do you call it? Hegemony 101. You go in and you decimate the population that is there. In fact, you eradicate them, you exterminate them, because if you want to take over the land, and that's what they want the land. They want the land of Africa. They want the land of Iran. They want the land of the so-called Middle East. They want the land of America. If you want to take land, you go in and you kill all the people. You kill, because those are the claimants. They're the legitimate owners. White folks come out of a tradition of law, deep, romantic, Roman law that says we have to go by these procedures. We have mortgages and we have liens, and all those terms are legal terms that came out of Roman law. So they've been doing this stuff for a long time. They want to lien on your shit. They want to lien on your land in America. They want a mortgage on your property. So they have to take you out of being able to come back later and have a legal argument that that's my land. Well, if you dead, you don't really have a claim, So
let's talk about historically at this point, because this is a question that I want to talk in this historical context. And you brought up a very good point, and that point is land. Malcolm argued that land is the basis of independence. Black people, 310 years of free labor in this country. We came to the point of Abraham Lincoln in 1863, right? And you free would put it in 1865, but what happened and why Abraham Lincoln is such a piece of shit when it comes to Black people. Listen to this. You're not gonna believe it. And I don't think Black people really know, the game.
That's okay. That's all right. You just have to assume that they do.
In May of 1862, there was something called the Homestead Act that was passed in Congress, which gave which impact over the next 100 years, more than 270 million acres was transferred to white people.
Yeah.
And not only that, not the general white people, but we're talking about 1.6 million individuals, where they literally gave them land on the brink of 310 years of free labor that African people were suppressed in this country and who got nothing.
Right.
Now said that land is the basis of independence.
Right.
Which here's a question for you, Art, right here. And Dr. Conrad World, National Black United Front, rest in peace, used to argue this point. When we came to this crossroads of January 1863 and Lincolnish, right? The slaves are freed. They never asked us, did we want to be American citizens? We were striving toward, for 310 years, our own independence, our own sovereignty. We weren't striving to be Americans.
Well, yeah, we just want to get away from those people. It's like, hey, leave us alone.
The audience look up, and study that Homestead Act of 1862 and also its companion act, and that's the Morrill Act, and to see how you got it with no Vaseline. And you've been struggling ever since. Malcolm said the basis of independence is land.
Absolutely.
And that act by white supremacy and Abraham Lincoln's Congress that he signed off on 6 months before they freed you from 310 years of slavery and gave you nothing, not even 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you need to also understand in tandem with the Homestead Act is the Homestead Act was for white people. It was not for you. The 40 acres and a mule, that died with Abraham Lincoln. When he was assassinated, Johnson came in and immediately nullified the 40 acres and a mule that African slaves or former slaves were supposed to receive. And consequently, what happened with the Homestead Act was that the term American Dream came into being because wait, I'm gonna be real quick with this.
No, I want you to address something. You said 310 years, audience, of free labor given to this country. Let's say that Lincoln's promise came through and they were able to oversee that, right? 40 acres and you. They gave each white person 6 months, 7 months before Lincoln signed off on that, January 1st, 1863, 160 acres.
Yeah. Oh, they gave them the entire West. They just like, hey, whatever y'all can go and stake a claim. I mean, you can do this homestead. You can ride west and just grab you some land and it'll be yours. But just quickly, I wanted to say this. That's where the idea of the American dream came from. The American dream was a replacement theory. That was the first replacement theory. It was to replace Black people who were the craftsmen, who were the people who they had brought from Africa, who knew how to build homes and ornate things. Go down to Louisiana in the South and Jackson, Mississippi, and you see those things, the homes that were built by the slaves were fully decorated, ornate systems that craftsmen did. The craftsmen needed to be replaced. They didn't have them in America because all the white men in America were people who just sat around. They had been just watching the slaves build everything. They didn't have to do any work, not a stitch of work. They're sitting out sipping a mint julep under the tree. So they said, where are we going to get these? We freed the slaves and these Black people are mad. So where are we going to get the craftsmen? The only craftsmen were in Europe. So they appealed to Europe, sent messages to Europe and said, hey, Europeans, y'all can come over here and we will give you, under the Homestead Act, land. We'll give you free land. We will give you all the associations with being free people, and we will call this the American dream. The American dream was postured to white Europeans, and they came here to obtain the American dream. So it hurts my feelings when I hear a black person, any black person, say those words like, oh, I'm after the American dream. The American dream was to deny you. The very idea of the American dream was a denial of your existence and your rights to any damn thing. So
we're going to talk about those master builders and that point that you made. Muslim Street just last week spent the week at the First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia, on a fact-finding mission. And this church is the oldest Black church in the United States, going all the way back to 1777. They just received a grant from the city of Savannah for $500,000, so $500,000 to refurbish the stained glass windows in that church. So we were there for the historic press conference. The pastor there, we worked out a great relationship with him. We were able to do 2 days of extensive research there. The findings of that research will be coming out. I'm not able to even go even further to talk about the narrative around it until we qualify some stuff through linguistics. Historical linguistics about some issues around who built that church. And I'll leave it there, but know that the Muslim Street was there, and we have gathered all of the research that's necessary to reach a fair and an honest historical conclusion of who actually built the first American Baptist church in Savannah, Georgia. I encourage everybody to go there and visit that project.
Yeah, I do want to go down to Savannah, Georgia, and check out just the beauty of what our people left there in their presence, in their wake, and their culture. Amazing things that we've done with this land as well. So again, just in the spirit of making sure that we promote peace, we promote love, we promote what we need in order to continue to survive, we have to look at land, especially and particularly when we're talking about Africa, we're talking about Cuba. We have to have not only access, but control of the land. And we deserve that. And we deserve whatever we can get. I love visiting Cuba, beautiful place. And I was reading where a huge tanker of fuel has just reached Havana, came from Russia all the way to Havana the U.S. has got this embargo and has sanctioned any country that will give Cuba any aid, any fuel. And Cuba is in the dark for the most part. I remember there's a huge refinery right there in Havana. I could see it from the place where I was living and just looked down the road. And I took a lot of pictures, in fact, of that refinery. But it needs fuel in order to be able to process and get that crude from somewhere. And they just received a tanker. It had to go all the way to Russia. I mean, the U.S. is so foul and so vulgar that they will deny people the ability to cook, to light their homes, to do those things, all because they don't like their system of government. And Marco Rubio has some fetish about that land somehow rescinding to Miami. So,
Yeah, and we got 1 minute left before the Great Land Scourge brings us into our close here. Art, just want to make a note that something's been hot across this country over the last week, and that's the case of teenager, 17-year-old teenager down in Texas, Carmelo Anthony, who was just sentenced to 35 years in prison in Collin County as a county called an all-white jury. There was no blacks on the jury, convicted him, and what he and his lawyers should have presented a case of self-defense with his stabbing of a white bully who was one of his classmates who stood over him and bullied him. And out of self-defense, Carmelo Anthony responded. So I just want to leave that position, with us. It's very important that we talk about that, especially on the high school front. As you can see there, a picture up on the screen. That's yours truly. That's why I have this number 17 on. This is my high school football jersey. I went to a high school similar to Carmelo Anthony. And I remember this white on black kind of bullying. It was a very large high school, over 7,000 students. And we had an all out race riot because the white students wanted it that way. They started it. We finished it. And on a personal note, I was the captain of the football team and the quarterback. You can see me lighting somebody up there. All right. What I couldn't do, and I waited for in my senior year after the season was over, one of the white students, never forget his name was Mike Schmidt. I had known this guy for 4 years. He called me a nigger and stood over me. And I literally tackled him and I threw 25 fist pumps right into his face. Okay. I got suspended. I never forget the day I went home. Mom says, how was your day at school? I told her what I just told you. And she said, honey, what you want for dinner? All right. So this is this is what's up. But this bullying of white oppression that permeates all across these integrated high schools. And our high school was 50% them and 50% us. They started it. We finished it. There's a classic example.
Shame on you.
Yeah. But can you imagine me, not responding, and here I am, some years, a couple decades later, harboring that and saying, man, why didn't I respond? Now you have to respond, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, I think that social media and this whole system has to get used to us having the ability to comment on an equal basis. They don't want to hear from us. They don't want to hear us talk about the topics that we've been talking about today. They generally think that those are somehow above us. But I challenge all of those people who consider themselves the captains of social media to understand and get with the program that Black people have some very important things to say about this and any other subject that's out there. So just move on aside and quit acting like, oh, we're so liberal and we're not prejudiced against it. Well, if you're so damn liberal and not prejudiced, then you make sure that our voices are heard in every capacity that you can on every subject and every topic, or, we'll remember that,
Exactly.
like Malik did. We'll remember you.
Yeah, and as the Lance Scurv Show, we want to thank Lance Scurv for producing this show. You can find us at www.themuslimstreet.com across all social media. And again, for Art Mobley, founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists. This is Malik Aziz, founder of the Muslim Street, as well as co-convener of the Dot 423. We'll see you next week with some other hard-hitting news that you can engage us with. Again, at the Muslim Street, we say so long, goodbye, salam alaikum.